Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby. Once again, we have Rose. First weekend of the summer series, done and dusted. We'll be speaking about New Zealand, England, what happened last weekend. Look forward to the next weekend. And the same goes for South Africa as well. But Rose, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very excited for another weekend of very exciting rugby. Obviously, last weekend was brilliant, especially the New Zealand-England game. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling optimistic for this weekend.
Yeah, listen, you proved some doubters wrong. Like, maybe not some doubters wrong, because I saw a couple of people say England might get the first game because it's New Zealand's first game back, new coaching staff and everything. I predicted New Zealand to win. I did not predict it to be that close. I was really impressed by England overall. And surely you have a lot of confidence after the first game going into the second one. Obviously, we can talk about the record and everything, but if you just take the game by itself, do you feel a bit more confident going into this weekend than you did the first weekend?
Yeah, massively so. I feel like I was pretty optimistic going into the first weekend, considering we had won a few games in a row and we were looking pretty on form. But obviously, this is the All Blacks in New Zealand. You always have to be a bit wary, well, very wary. And we went in and we played a brilliant game of rugby. And a lot of people have said England should have won that game. It was incredibly close. And the scoreline did reflect the game in the sense that it was very close. But I think that could have easily been England's 16-15. And without the couple of missed kicks from Marcus Smith, I mean, we would have got it. But very optimistic. Our defence is looking pretty unstoppable at the moment. Like, one of the hardest teams to defend against, as we know, is the All Blacks. And the fact that we held them off for so long is looking really great. And I think we have a chance this weekend. I think we have a chance.
Yeah, you literally stole the words out of my mouth there. Like, I was also just going to say, like, the scoreline reflected the game. Not necessarily in terms of who should have been the winner, but that was a 1-point game. And if both teams kick their kicks, like, we could have seen a different story. But in the end, you take nothing away from New Zealand in terms of, like, they still had to graft that victory. They are still under a new coaching staff, a new system. And yes, I said, listen, there's still combinations there, but when you get to a new coaching staff, you have a new fullback, a new 10, a new captain. It's a lot of things to kind of get used to. And we've always seen the thing with, like, the All Blacks look the most beatable when they actually play their first game. And now that first game is done and dusted, they'll probably take some confidence from that, saying, listen, we grinded out a victory, and they'll have some confidence going into that game in Auckland, right? We know their record there. So I do agree that you can have a bit of confidence going into that game, but I do not believe you are favourites going into that game. Like, that record is the longest standing record, I think, in rugby at the moment. About 34 years or something, whatever it is. I think they haven't lost there since 1992. Obviously, I think they have 2 draws there. Does that record scare you? Do you think this plays a mental role on the English?
No. I think this England team is going to be riled up, angry that we didn't get the win next weekend. Obviously, the record in itself sounds quite intimidating, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't win a victory there. I mean, I think you said last week, if New Zealand had 3 players on the pitch, they'd still win at Eden Park. That's not true. It's not like this magic place. And at the end of the day, some sports trends are broken. And my delusional self is saying England are going to do it at the weekend.
There's this thing called rugby heritage. And that's just always how it ends. And listen, this is not a whack to England. But of all the teams that could have beaten that record or deserve to break that record finally, it's not England.
Why?
I'm not saying it's the Springboks, but it's not England.
Why not?
That is not a team deserving of beating that infamous record. It's either has to be the Wallabies for Bledisloe or the Springboks. They get to play them every year. They have to break it. I will not accept that an English team goes there once in a blue moon and breaks this glorious record.
Well, you might not accept it. You might not want to accept it, but are you going to say 100% it's impossible that England will win that? It's not like a magic spell.
No, it's not impossible, because this English team has looked very good. Like
Exactly.
since the start of the Six Nations and the growth that we've seen, especially in defense, right?
Oh,
It
100%.
is commendable. Like it is
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Um, I just won't accept it. I won't accept it. Plain.
You know what though? No, you know what? Because you were going, but earlier before you were saying there were missed kicks. If these missed kicks had happened, blah blah blah, whatever, we might have seen a different score. I know it doesn't quite work like this, but if everybody had still kicked their kicks, England would have won. I know New Zealand missed a couple as well, but Smith missed more, and we had a lot of chances to kick to post, and we missed 3 or 4 pretty easy kicks. There was one like way out, but I think the other 3 were very easy. Next weekend, obviously we know England are a kicking team. We kick penalties, like we always go down that route very often. Next weekend, I think Borthwick really needs to consider that we have another kicking option on the pitch, because I saw a lot of people after that England game talking about how Marcus Smith needs to come off and Finn Smith needs to start. And I'm like, we've got Henry Slade at 13. He will start on Saturday. Obviously, we don't know the teams yet. We are filming this the night before, but Henry Slade will start. And Marcus Smith was brilliant in that game, apart from his kicking from the tee. Like, get Slade to kick. He's been great kicking for Exeter. I'm not really sure. After a couple of missed kicks at the start of the New Zealand game, I was thinking get Slade to start kicking. I'm not sure why they didn't, because frankly, something was up with Smith's nerves. It was an off day for him. But that was like one of the main faults of our game. And if we can sort that out on Saturday, like, what's stopping us? Obviously,
Well, both games, all 4 kickers, like literally the kickers of both games, all had a nightmare. Like Mackenzie got counted out, Smith struggled, Andre Pollard missed a couple,
do you know Pollard's kicking
Jack Crowley missed a couple, and was sitters. Everyone missed sitters. I couldn't understand.
Do you know Pollard's kicking rate in the game against Ireland?
No, I don't want to know.
It's 57%. For someone who is known for his kicking, who comes onto the pitch as this clutch player who can kick.
Rose, you literally just said everyone can have an off day.
I didn't. I just said Smith had an off day. No, because Smith is not brought onto the field to be a reliable kicker. That's not why we have him at 10. You have Pollard at 10 because he's reliable and he's good at controlling the game. We saw it in the semi-final against England. It all fell apart against Ireland. I mean, obviously, you still won, so it didn't necessarily make a difference. But does that worry you a little bit?
No, because he'll pick it up this weekend. Okay, did you see the wins? Have you seen the wins? It's ridiculous in South Africa at the moment.
No, I can't.
Listen, it's not an excuse. I'm not using it as an excuse, right? I'm just saying that's a reason why people struggled. Like, the wins are crazy. Didn't you see that video, literally, of a waterfall in South Africa being blown upwards? Like, the water isn't touching the ground. I'm not even joking. It is a video going viral. The wins are crazy. But obviously, he missed a couple of sitters. Like, that's un-Pollard-like. He had an off day. He didn't have a good game. But we just trust that he fixes it next time, because you're not going to get away with winning games if you leave 8 to 10 points, whatever it was, on the field. And that's against any top team. That goes for New Zealand can't afford to leave points on the field again. England can't afford to leave points. And same goes for Ireland and South Africa. That's why you have reliable kickers in your team. But overall, what was your thoughts on the New Zealand match, knowing that was their first game back? Were you overall impressed with them? Do you see potential under the new coach, or do you think they're a bit of a downward spiral, or they'll need to take some time to find their feet?
No, I think I've seen a lot of chat after the game kind of being like, are New Zealand really off form, blah, 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 because obviously England gave them a really good game in New Zealand, which is hard to do. But that wasn't really reflective of New Zealand playing badly. That was just because England played really well and defended them really well. There looked like really good moments of attack from New Zealand. There was every time Slayer got the ball, it looked so dangerous. He got through a couple of times. They overall looked pretty good, especially in the second half. In the first section of the second half because we fell off a bit. So no, I don't think it's worrying. Obviously, it's their first game back, and once again, I don't think the score was representative of this like dwindling New Zealand team that are like on a downward spiral. Like, not at all. England just played really well, and I do think England needs some credit for that. I'm not saying you're not giving it, but a lot of people online talking about New Zealand being bad rather than England being good.
Yeah, I think both teams were good.
Yeah.
If you put it in perspective, like I think New Zealand had a decent performance for their first game, and it was a proper test match. And when you're a flowing running rugby team with a running rugby coach, and you get up against a team that's defense was as rock solid as the likes of England, then obviously it's going to be a tight game, you know. Just to wrap up on the English team, or well, on the England game, obviously we would like to focus a bit more on New Zealand, but we have no New Zealand representatives here. I'll just quickly say Stephen Perofeta in that 15 jersey was absolutely insane. I don't know if you heard that, but it's okay. I just actually spoke to the people. The 15 of New Zealand, Stephen Perofeta. We spoke about Damien McKenzie and Bowden Barrett going for 10 and 15. Stephen Perofeta, he cannot be dropped after that game. He needs a run of games. He was absolutely scintillating. And in my opinion, for England, Cunningham South, absolutely brilliant game. And if you take away the kicking, Marcus Smith was also extraordinary, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have 3 standouts for England for the England game. One was Cunningham South, one was Smith, and one was also Furbank.
Yeah, really got stuck in. I forgot about him.
Phenomenal. And obviously, that place was not secure for him at the start of the season because you still kind of had this looming Freddie Stewart figure. And you look at the way he's playing at the moment and you're like, he's really securing his place at 15. Yeah. Like, it looks like Freddie Stewart will not be coming back if Furbank keeps playing like that, which is slightly sad. But yeah, Cunningham South was phenomenal. He's such a threat. He's just got this aggression that kind of you need as a flanker.
And he's extremely young, which is great. It's so beneficial.
21.
Yeah, he can have a massive career.
And another player who I don't think is getting as much hype, but who just again is solidifying his place in the team is George Martin. He's really showing to be like a Toje's new lock partner because Borthwick's been messing around with a few, as was Eddie Jones when he was coaching, and there was never really this solid pair in the 4 and 5 positions, but George Martin looks like he's filling that at the moment. He just looks, again, phenomenal. So it's exciting. Yeah. It's looking really good for England, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Just to wrap up on it, you can just quickly give me your thoughts. Are they, because as you mentioned, we're doing this before the team announcements, would you go unchanged, or is there like some positions you would switch, and like kind of who are you looking forward to seeing this weekend? Like who can actually have a big impact? Who needs to step up to the plate for you guys to get the result? Obviously, we're just fans. We're not analysts, but yeah.
So with changes and stuff, my concern is more with the bench rather than the starting 15. I probably would start the same team again because it worked really well. And I'm looking at those positions and I'm going, our front row is still a bit of an issue, but they were pretty good. Like, obviously, we were really worried about the forwards going into the game, considering our scrums have been so poor against Japan. And fair enough, there were points where we really did struggle, but there were also points where we got scrum penalties and we stood our ground. I would keep the starting 15 the same. However, there are a couple of options on the bench that I'm not quite sure about. The first one, which I think was so significant if you were watching the game, was Ben Spencer coming on for Alex Mitchell. Obviously, Alex Mitchell, as we know, like, his speed is his thing. Like, you're watching like the ruck speed when Alex Mitchell's on the pitch and it's like flying. When Spencer came on, everything slowed down. He was so slow to get the ball out the ruck. And I would like to see Harry Randall come off the bench just as a different option, because when Spencer came on, it really wasn't it. And our attack just completely slowed down and lost its momentum. So I would like to see Harry Randall over Ben Spencer. And another one, and I hate to say this, is Tom Curry. He did it in the Japan game. He did it again today, or not today, last Saturday. He came off the bench. First thing he does is concedes a penalty straight away. Tom Curry's discipline has always been an issue, but it's looking particularly bad at the moment. It's just silly mistakes. He's not on form at the moment. I think he needs to go back to Sale and play a little bit more club rugby during the season, because he didn't show up. He wasn't really getting stuck in like we usually see him. I don't know. There are so many different options we could have in that back row. There are so many people that could have a chance to replace him. And I think it is partially a thing where it's like he's this big name and he's done so much for England. But at the moment, I want to see somebody else coming on instead of Tom Curry. He just isn't doing it for me at the moment. He's making mistakes and then he's not making a positive impact on top of that. So, yeah. But the starting 15...
That's coming from a Sale fan.
I know.
No.
You know what,
anyway.
though? Do you know what, though? No, really quick. Ben Curry is in the squad. So let's just bring him on. He hasn't had this huge injury. He's basically Tom Curry. Just have him instead.
Yeah, just bring on the stunt double. Anyway,
Exactly.
Okay, so we're moving on to South Africa versus Ireland, a game filled with controversies. Finally, we can say, listen, the what do you call it? The voodoo's broken. Okay, this thing that has been haunting us. Obviously, we will still want to win the second game as well, but we can't lose the series anymore. And it feels like a little bit of that caveat of we are world champions, but has been removed. What's your overall thoughts on not necessarily the game, but the fact that has finally been broken? Do you think it's because Ireland has had a long season, or do you think South Africa actually deserved to get the victory finally, or what's just your opinion on the matter?
I think it's two of the best teams in the world who have a huge rivalry, and you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. Obviously, you guys are in South Africa. I think you did deserve to win that game, although there obviously were a lot of issues. But I think overall you did deserve to win, considering your extremely dominant first half. I think it's nice that you won, obviously, because you're world champions, although I have heard some people saying that if Ireland win the second test by more than you won the first test, that they've won the series.
Yeah, they're going on an aggregate scoreline. I mean, fair enough. If you really want to do it and you want to break it down to the last bit of detail,
but that's just. I'm not even saying that's what I think, but that argument will be made.
Yeah,
so
bunch of us social media kids will probably go on and say, "Listen, on aggregate, this and that happen." But that's kind of obviously the South African team has already been announced, and I think Rassie's taking this very seriously. I've said it previously. I don't know if you were on the pod, but it was, I think South Africa will try and go. Now, I'm not saying they want or they can do it, but obviously we'll try and go and see if we can get that undefeated streak this year in 2024. And I think that's why Rassie went so strong. We know there's a couple of injury concerns when it comes to Ireland, and still he's gone full strength. We need to get used to the system. It's the same kind of as New Zealand. The attack, we saw a lot more flowing attack, but it was a bit scrappy at times. But that's with a new coach that you've only been with a week, you're going to get that, right? And even saying that, we did win the game. And the only thing that bothers me is the fact that we weren't clinical enough. You can't have 30 to 40 minutes of pure dominance, literally pure dominance, and not necessarily have the scoreline reflect enough points. We could have blown Ireland out of the water in the first 30 minutes. Credit to Ireland for staying in the game as long as they did, the fighting team. But I truly believe we should have done better in terms of the scoreline. But saying that, you also have to give credit to Ireland with the game. But they put us on the ropes in the second half. I'm not going to lie. It felt like the game flipped a bit, and all of a sudden we had to capitalize on mistakes to get more points.
Anyone who's English, who's into rugby or who's into sport will know that last Saturday was pretty intense. And I couldn't watch the second half of the South Africa-Ireland game because it was England in the Euros quarterfinal. So I watched the first half, and afterwards I was looking online and everyone was going, there are some big issues here. And I was thinking, what the hell went wrong? Because in the first half, you guys just looked so much better. And it was oh dear, poor Ireland. So you obviously have a bit of an issue of you just dropped off.
I don't know. I don't know if it was complacency or Ireland woke up or we got figured out a bit. We knew Ireland wasn't going to die, but the fact that we left them a chance to get back into the game, I think that kind of woke Ireland up, and they showed that fighting spirit. Because even with 5 minutes to go, the score, I think it was 5 minutes to go, and the score was 28.
And
there was three tries scored in the last 5 minutes. And the fact that there was 5 minutes left and we knew Ireland was still in the game, because if they scored one in the 5 minutes, they have extra time to still get over the line again. And that was worrying. Like we should have kicked our kicks. As everyone has said, Ireland should have kicked their kicks.
Yeah.
We had the controversies. Have you seen some of the stuff that has been posted online in terms of what happened with the disallowed tries and stuff?
No, the only controversy I've seen is how the ref treated Doris, but...
Okay, so we won't get into the controversies here, because the South Africans will say it's definitely disallowed, and the Irish fans will...
So there were disallowed tries?
There were 2 disallowed tries, yes, for Ireland, both, which is obviously not a good look. But then again, like me as a South African would definitely say, yeah, you can't allow that, while Irish people would say, how can that not be awarded? It's one of those. Depends who you support, kind of. But in the end, I'm super happy with the victory. Especially, as I said, we are still a team that kind of needs to find our feet now under a new system. We need to adapt to it. The defense looked good. We had a couple of times that they were on our 5-meter line and we really defended well. Malcolm Marx looked like the old Malcolm Marx, not the guy that just came back from an injury. He came onto the field, immediate impact from the bench. A couple of guys struggled that will need to have big games, like we just spoke about. Who are the guys that need to step up for your game? Kwagga needs to have a massive game. I really wanted to have some rotation, not the most, because in my head I'm thinking there's a lot of guys that need game time, right? But you want to give them game time in the natural 15. Yeah. So Evan Roos needs to play with Siya Kolisi and Pieter Steff to tackle. Like I wanted to see that pairing, but we went with Kwagga again, and obviously Kwagga needs to step up. I think he had a decent game, but he made a couple of obvious errors that he just needs to fix. I think the combination of Faf and Andre or Pollard, it struggled. So I would have liked to have seen Reinach. But then again...
It's a completely unchanged 15, isn't it?
Yeah, complete unchanged 23.
Seriously?
So Rassie isn't playing around.
No.
And to be fair, we want to get the series victory. You don't want to say, listen, okay, we beat them. Now the caveat's gone, and then you go ahead and lose the next game. Not at all. Because we kind of knew Loftus would be the tough one to go for Ireland to go and get the upset victory. Sorry, what did you say?
You always want to win the last one, because that's one going to be brought up. It's the most recent time we played, we won. So
yeah, don't want to send them home winning with the winning mentality, because obviously a win for Ireland now would be massive with all the injuries that they have.
Are you feeling confident?
Well, I trust the team. I trust that those guys won't all of a sudden think Ireland is a easy game. Even though they have the injuries and stuff, they still got quality on the field. Caelan Doris was by a country mile the best player on the field. He was absolutely insane. He's still playing this weekend. They still got Josh van der Fleer. They've still got Taddi Furlong, Byrne, Joe McCarthy. All those boys, they are still playing. So they're not going to be an easy team to beat at all. And I think they will be fired up after last weekend, especially with some of the controversy that goes along with it. So am I nervous? Yes, but am I also a bit confident in terms of trusting in the process that we have and trusting that the right decision has been made? Yes. So I'm still going with the box to win, but not by much again. More than this time. I think it'll be a bit more convincing. So I'm going 10 points.
Really? I think it will be closer.
No.
Why? Because obviously... You spoke before about how Ireland are going to be so fired up. They know the context behind this game. They know what a big deal this 2-test series is. And like you said, as soon as they had fallen apart slightly, during the first half of the first test, they came back absolutely like all guns blazing. And I think it's going to be a bit like that with the second match. It's like, okay, we didn't win the first bomb.
Yeah, but the
we
bomb
need
squad
to
came
get
on and
this
made a
one.
massive impact. And I think that happens again.
Okay, but do you not think there's a bit of an element of you guys have won one? It's not like they'll be needing it more. Do you know what I mean?
No, because as I mentioned, like we want this. We want this series victory.
Yeah,
we don't want the series draw.
There's more desperation for them.
Yeah, but you've got your crowd backing up in Durban.
No, I agree. I think South Africa probably will win, but I think it will be closer. I think like 3 or 4 points. I think it's going to be a brilliant game.
Yeah, maybe I'm a bit optimistic because earlier I even said 15 points just because I want blood. In my opinion, we should have won that game further. I was not happy with the performance as a whole. We should have put more points on them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll look forward to this weekend. Am I shitting it? Yes. Am I confident? Yes.
England are going to win. I just want to put that out there. They're going to break the record, and I just want to leave that.
England by
1, 2, 2.
So a draw on aggregate.
2.
Okay, so that take the edge on aggregate. So you're going England by 2 and the Box by 3. You said.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah. I'm going New Zealand by 3 points.
My last Ireland South Africa prediction was exactly right. I said it would be in the 20s by 7. So you should listen.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'm going Springboks. Well, I'm going New Zealand by 3 just with this Eden Park thing. And I'm going Springboks, and I'll take a mixture between my 10 points and 15. I'll go 12 points. Springboks by 12. But I think it will be close. Like we'll be in the lead by, let's say, 5 to 7 points, 1 score away.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of right at the end, score another one to settle the game. So it won't be a 12-point victory in terms of viewing it, but just like 12 points on a... That's kind of how I'm seeing it play out.
Yeah.
Hopefully turns out like that. Anyway, Rose, thank you very much for joining, as always. And hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yes, definitely. After we've won.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.